All right, welcome back to What I Love About Bell with Hillary Cole, episode 5.
Yeah.
Here we are with our podcast, episode 5. So exciting. What's going on? What's new?
It just keeps going, right? Like every month I feel like it's, oh my gosh, so much is going on. And nothing is different about that. We're actually adding projects to the projects. So today between 12 and 2, the final piece of furniture for the new tasting room will be arriving, and this one is going to be one of the permanent pieces. So we have most of the pieces that are coming in, or that have been coming in, are temporary just for the interim space, but this is one of the permanent pieces and kind of one of the pieces that the entire interior design was built around. So I'm excited for that to finally arrive today. And then the owners were here on Friday. We were talking about remodel things, and Dia and I were going back and forth all weekend long on like patio furniture and things, and so now we're in the process of like starting to select new patio furniture for the remodel, selecting the new doors. There's going to be entrances on the building that don't exist right now.
Exciting.
So that's part of the whole process, and so choosing the doors for those is also another another piece that's really fun. Today is the launch of a project to give Scoundrel his own website, and that's going to be a really, really fun project. I mean, coming up with the new Scoundrel label was really fun in and of itself, and so taking him as a character and giving him his own website that, obviously is going to be very wine-driven, but it's gonna have Scoundrel's cheekiness all over it. So I'm really excited for that project to kick off today. The guys are, all the ambassadors, Rob, Scott, Darren, Mike, they're all thriving, doing well. It's really great to see all the reviews coming in from guests on, through Talk, and it's always just sterling reviews, and so happy to see that our guests have been enjoying, and the guys are just like super engaged. Wine is going to be releasing, more and more wines. We've just had our May wine club release, and so our wine club members got to kind of get in front of a couple of those wines, and then October's the next release, and then all the 19s will be out. Faniani, our Single Vineyard Faniani 2019. 2019 was the first vintage for that, and it's just released. It is, without argument, one of my favorite things that we have produced. So I'm probably going to be adding a bit of that to my collection. I recommend getting in there before I do. So there's a lot. There's a whole lot.
Well, it's a beautiful day.
It is.
And we just came off a long weekend. So you guys were jamming all weekend here with visitors. And the vineyards are looking beautiful with the baby grapes on there.
Yeah, it was a long weekend and a busy weekend for us. It was, in Napa, there was Bottle Rock going on, so, that always adds a bit of energy. And then it was also Memorial Day weekend. And so those two things combined can kind of be like how's this going to play out? And this year we got rocked. So it was a very long, very busy weekend. But, everybody had a great time, pulled together, got it done. So yeah. Good. We're heading into June now.
And what's coming up for you in June as we enter a new month?
Well, this weekend, we've been trying to put together this private in-home tastings for our wine club members. And so this weekend I'll be traveling to Atlanta, Georgia, for the first one of those for Bell. And then I've got a couple in Chicago coming up before the end of summer. So that program is starting to take shape and take form. So I'll be leaving at 3:30 in the morning on Friday to board the plane and head over, to the East Coast.
And you bring the wines with you?
Yeah, I'll be bringing the wines with me. It will be a private tasting for 36.
Wow.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I love those things. I'm really excited to be doing the first one for Bell here. And then we're also in the process, in thinking about like our lineup and the offerings that we have. I was just talking about the Single Vineyard Faniani, and that being one of my very favorite things that we've released so far. We have a couple of single Appalachian and single vineyard offerings that, don't really get a lot of showtime. So I'm in the process of, after soliciting the guys' advice, the ambassadors' advice, in the process of putting together a single appellation and single vineyard flight. Right now we have the current release tasting and the grape to glass, and it's the same flight for both. The only difference is just the amount of time, right? And then we have the single clone tasting and the sensory tasting. So we think what we'll end up doing is eliminate the current release tasting, so then it'll be the grape to glass, and then have that single appellation and single vineyard tasting, where all of those will be every Cabernet, every wine on the flight will be a Cabernet, but it will be one of our single appellation and or single vineyard offerings. So like right now, the grape to glass and current release have a white wine, sparkling, and then 3 different red varieties, and it ends with one of our single clones. The all Cabernet flight will all be single appellation and single vineyard, and kind of be a step in between like the current release and a step between that and the sensory tasting and the single clone. So the single clone tasting is also itself all Cabernets, but that tasting is what we specialize in. These are all the single clones. That's the only thing that's on the flight. And, people have been really kind of recognizing that that's what we specialize in. So we've been seeing more and more of those single clone tastings come through, which I'm really happy to see. But this single appellation and single vineyard flight, while it's not necessarily what we specialize in, there have been some vintages when, John has recognized that, like, wow, this in barrel stands really well on its own, and it's before that vineyard or that appellation gets mixed in and blended in to become like a reserve cab or something. So we have enough of those right now to have it stand as its own flight. So that's in the process of being launched. And then, I've got a couple of single clone private tastings coming up or that's one of the ones in Chicago. So, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, kind of doubling down on the private in-home and the single clone.
Yeah, talking about the single clones and obviously that being the focal point at Bell. Mm-hmm. I mean, a wine lover coming to the Napa Valley, planning their trip, what would you say why Bell is a must stop off?
It's because you're not going to find any other winery in the valley that has a single clone program like we do. And what does this mean? When we talk about what does that matter? And for me, what it matters is it's drilling down to one more specificity, right? When we're talking about what wine is and what it can be. There's single appellation, there's single vineyards, there's single variety, and there's all these other single things, and we've just kind of drilled one step further to the single clone, and it really is extraordinary. I've never would have thought it until I got here, and I don't know why, because I've had the single clones of different burgundies and red burgundies and white burgundies and stuff, so I don't know why I never thought about it in terms of Cabernet until I got here, but it's one of the things that got me here. When you line up those single clone Cabernets and you taste them side by side, you really get to see how each of those clones, vintage after vintage, does bring its own characteristics. Like, this is characteristic of 337, this is characteristic of 6. And vintage after vintage, you see those characters be very specific to that clone. And I think that just like we can do side-by-side tastings of the different appellations in Napa. There's 16 appellations in Napa. If you take a Mount Veeder against a Diamond Mountain, against a Yountville, against, a Howell Mountain, so on and so forth, like, you're going to get some appellation qualities from each one of those year after year. There will be some variance by vintage, but the general sense will be you will be able to taste the difference. And this is just going a couple steps further and saying, like, okay, well, this is how this clone is compared to the others. And so, yeah, it's just, that's why, for me. I went off on a total tangent there. But for me, if you really want to drill down and geek out on wine, that's what's going to set us apart.
And do you find guests appreciate how centrally located Bell is?
I do. And I think because we're just right off 29 and very central to the valley, we're, not dead center, but we're far enough south that you can start your day here and continue on north. And being right here in Yountville, there's a bike rental place. It's very easy to rent a bike and bike down here. We can always ship your wine to you, so you don't have to worry about like, well, how do I get my wine? Or if you have a car and you want to come by the next day and pick up the wine that you've purchased from your visit, like, yeah, we'll just hold it for you when you have your car. But yeah, the location here, it is pretty prime. There's a lot of the wineries that have the fortune of being like way up in the mountains and everything, and I mean, you don't beat the views up there. They are gorgeous views, but you're taking a hike to get up there, whereas we're down on the valley floor and just such an easy starting point for your day. So yeah, we do find that a lot of people prefer to kind of start their experience here. So yeah.
Well, as we wrap up episode 5, of course, so many exciting things to come. But as we end, what do you love about Bell?
I think right now the engagement, like from the ambassadors, like they're just all doing such a great job. Like I was talking about before, like we just keep getting sterling review after sterling review, and they're really proud of where they're working. They're proud of the wines. They really enjoy our guests, and they're super engaged. And I love a staff that bring problems to me, or potential vulnerabilities or issues, whatever you want to call it, to me before I even realize they're there, because that means that they're paying attention and they want to get in front of it. And it could be, we're almost out of dishwasher soap for the glassware. You're like, let me find out about that ahead of time, not after, and so like those certain pieces that that they're watching for the things that they need to do their job, and they're bringing it to me ahead of time, or they're paying attention to the weather days out to get in front of, like, do we need to be able to have some spaces inside in the interim, like, and those things that they're looking ahead, for our guests' best interest, and to make sure that we are giving the experience that we want, and that the wines are showing the way that we want the wines to show, and the fact that they are taking it upon themselves to look days in the future to make sure that there's a plan for everything. I love that engagement from them. And like I said, the owners were here on Friday, and we were kind of dialing in some more elements of the remodel, and we were going back and forth, on the Friday night before a holiday weekend, like we were going back and forth about patio furniture till about 8:30 at night, and then all through the weekend. And I loved that. I loved seeing how excited and how engaged they were with this process that's going on here. And it was super productive, and it was a lot of fun. And so it was really cool to see their engagement, and that of course just gets everybody excited, like, let's go. Yes. So I think that engagement piece is where I'm at right now.
Well, it's a busy day.
Yeah.
Lots going on. The last piece of furniture is about to arrive, so we're going to wrap up here.
Yeah, I should probably go run and sign for that.
We'll join next month. Thank you.
See you next time.